this product after it was launched to a few engineers. So surprisingly, our new office is next to the Moffett Field, and the Curiosity landed on Mars and all those things. There was a bunch of celebration there, and I said, look at those things. We are looking at Curiosity as one of the terms that our system mapped to Mars, and some of the employees at the Moffett Field and NASA. And I said, let's search. And when we searched for Curiosity, surprisingly, we did not find the engineer that actually built that Curiosity at that particular location. He said, I'm an engineer, but who are those people? Why are you surfacing them and not me? Because I'm actually that expert. So it's again, fine-tuning and actually seeing what the expectations of your user base.
So I think we're going to open this up to Q&A. Is it time for that? Or do we have time for a little bit? Any questions from the audience? Can I take any more? Are you guys done with content curation? I don't know if I can, actually. All right, question?
Right here.
Oh.
Hold on.
Oh, let me get your mic real quick. Any other thoughts, guys, before we go into open discussion?
Hi, my question is about relevance. Obviously, it's a popular word in the industry and at large. And what I want to do is, whoever wants to answer this is fine, but I want a curated 20-word sentence, not a soliloquy, right? So and you can self-select. But the question is, how do you define relevance without taking into account the mindset of the receiver? Go.
So I'll take a stab at it. For us, relevance is from the source, the quality of the source. And so if it's an authoritative source and they're producing consistent content on that topic, they are relevant.
Sorry.
Relevance, how do you define it based on your level?
So for us, essentially, that's one.
Words of us.
Yeah, I know. So.
Yeah.
Please don't count.
Oh, okay. To us, that plus the timeliness. There is an element of timeliness in the relevance, right? So which is what you talked about, Alan talked about. How old is that information, right? How timely is it trending? How recent is it? So you add a layer on top of that.
I can answer very quickly. As if you find what you're looking for, you don't come back, for the same keyword or same thing, then you found what you're looking for. Whether it's the perfect thing that you could find from being quality or not, because it could be quality from Wikipedia, or it could be quality from a person that has the same problem you are having, right? So I don't think it really matters as long as the person gets what they want.
How do you know that?
So at Google we had the search team had a very simple success metric. It's how fast do you get people off your website. That's it. So if I found something and the relevant key search results from the first page, and I found and I clicked and never came back and searched the same keyword from the same session, then I knew the person found what they were looking for, right? So you optimize on those pieces. So whether I clicked on the first one and you clicked on the sixth one, doesn't matter as long as you found what you were looking for, right? And I think that's the key part of relevancy. Now, whether you're coming in from social curation or if it's coming from algorithm, at the end of the day, I think we're seeking knowledge and we found whichever way we found it.
I actually think that it's guessing game of what user intent is. If you're able to guess, let's say for maybe 0.5% of your users, what they're looking for and try to tailor for them, and actually you're right, watching what the win-loss ratio is of all of your blue links is definitely going to help you win those users.
They wanted me to announce that you can submit questions through Joyvent on the app. And we have a question actually for the panelists. What data points help in improving social curation? Is it the relation of the curator or the frequency of the curator posts about a specific topic or the combination of all? So that would be a good question.
So I think it's really how many people are following a curator. It's not the frequency because you may just have one nugget a day, but it's the valuable nugget, then people are going to follow that. So I think that in terms of social curation, like I said first, it has to be contextual. What is it they get a curator of? and then how many people are following you.
Well, we distribute this problem across a huge number of bloggers who are out there being their own curators, pursuing their own interests, and acquiring their own audiences. And only when they reach a certain level are they invited to participate in the GLAM system. So that's a very different setup. It's completely different than all of the other business structures that we've been talking about. In our case, relevance and timeliness are basically filtered through the question of, do I want to subscribe to this individual's voice is really the question that these people are asking. I think it's of particular note is that our topics are generally not business questions. They're generally about should I do a smoky eye next spring? And what's a good outfit to wear this fall? So these are not questions about which people are losing sleep, hopefully. I'm sure somebody, but in general, these are things where you're waiting at the bus stop and you have 5 minutes and you have a question, and so you're going to check in with your favorite 3 blogs who you know the names of their pets, you know their best friend's name. It's a completely different space.
Oliver, do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, well, I think that we're generalizing again, and we should be more specific. So at TechCrunch, we knew that the more often we published, the better the engagement was. The more comments we had, the more page views we had. It became this machine. You had to keep feeding, and the more posts you had, the more people you had, they demand more posts. It doesn't necessarily work that way with curation, in my experience with our community, because it really depends on what people are looking for and what they find. And so the way that our algorithm works, we have an algorithm called tree rank, and we're probably the only company that's building and exposing a true interest graph where we're actually letting you browse that interest graph in real time as it's being created by the community. And the value of that is that when you collect 10 links into your account, we analyze those, and if you say discover related, we're going to present to you other people's accounts that have common links. The greater the common links, the more closely related it's going to be. The more popular those other people's accounts are based on content and other engagement, the more relevant it becomes. And what we're seeing is that even though these people may not be experts and may not be celebrities, if they've collected interesting stuff, they tend to spawn collaboration that becomes expert. And then you end up with curation of content that is incredibly valuable. For example, in our community, every WikiLeaks cable has been organized by a team of about 60 journalists. Every TED video now has been organized by a team of 170 people that argue about where every single one of them should go relative to the others. And I would dare to say that there's probably no finer organization of TED than in our product as a result of that. But that's very, very different from surfacing relevant content from 1,000 blogs or identifying the actionable information from a massive stream of people talking about wood chippers. With the interest of a wood chipper company wanting to sell to that one guy who is ready to buy. I think that it's very different, and so we need to identify, where that content is being consumed and why, and then we understand better, how frequent, what the things are that are most relevant to determining, whether it's actionable for the consumer, whether it's just information for information's sake. A lot of us have books because we like to read.
Great. Any other questions from the audience? Yes. We're gonna bring a mic.
Hi, this is Srikanth. I just have a question. Like you talk about mostly about big brands and how they are interested, but I'm also interested in how a small or medium-sized businesses can take advantage of all these things what you guys are doing. I mean, I understand the big brands can benefit, but how about other little guys?
We have a small business offering. Come talk to me. I think that there's a lot of free tools out there too. It just depends upon what your objectives are. If you're trying to be a thought leader and you're trying to engage your own audience with relevant content on a consistent basis, it's a great strategy. And it's definitely going to do good for your brand. So, regardless of the size you're at, there's a lot of ways that you can do that, either free or paid, or you can outsource it. So, across the board.
Yeah, and I can answer that quickly. I think you have to figure out in the conversation, it's sort of like going to a party, right? I mean, if you're at a networking event, the conversations are different, right? If you go to a Diwali event, the conversations are different, or a holiday party, right? So you have to figure out, if you're talking on Twitter, does your audience exist there, right? And then you're having a conversation that's different than you would on Facebook versus somewhere else, right? So you find the tools that actually match what your product is doing, right? So I'll give you a perfect example. One of our companies is a music company, based on Bollywood music. Spotify for Indian music, and they found the way they actually could engage Facebook users. They had a lot of likes, but they couldn't figure out how to engage them. And they finally figured out that they could engage them by actually talking about celebrities and Bollywood movies, right? And now they get hundreds and hundreds of likes per post, right? So they're actually going back and engaging with the user and sort of saying, well, now if you like that post, here's music that actually goes along with it, right? So they found a way to connect what the users were interested in, and they had to experiment. You can't get it right the first time, right? So you have to be able to experiment, do the A/B experiments, figure out what works, because that's what the users are. I mean, you have 1 billion people on Facebook. Your segment of users are, if you're a B2C company, they're on that platform. If you're a B2B company, I would not go on Facebook. You would look at LinkedIn or somewhere else, right? So you have to, or Quora or somewhere else, and you have to figure out where the audience is and can you match them. And you may make mistakes, and 2 out of the 5 things you do may actually work out.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I guess I should disclose at the outset that I run a video indexing business. And so about curation, before you curate, you have to know something about an object. And to what extent do you agree that video content is essentially dark content? And if you think it's a problem, to what extent does the industry recognize it, and what is being done about it?
Could you define dark content?
Well, it's just something, it's a term I made up. What I mean dark content is, apart from the folksonomy or just a subject line which may or may not actually be the truth of what the video object really is, in terms of image processing or speech processing, which actually tells you what the thing truly is.
Image recognition, anyone?
I can take a crack, and I'm sure there's other people in here as well. So I think the same problem exists with images as well, not just videos, right? So a couple ways to look at this is, people surface up, so we put stuff on YouTube, and you look at how many people are watching it, viewing it, so you infer information whether the content is useful or not now. And then the part is, as people then engage with the content, they actually add content to it, right? So it's not just the title, but the content that can actually come beyond it. So there's a lot of clutter there, but you can actually try to figure out, infer information from there. So it's not an easy problem, right? But to be able to sort of look at engagement as well as the actual reference there as well.
I'm not sure that I sort of agree with saying that it's just dark content. If you think of it, I mean, human curators light up the dark content. And all of you are familiar with the TiE and the Gangnam style videos. That happened in 2-3 weeks, and it came from nothing to, because a lot of people posted it on YouTube, and so I think that the problem is no different whether it's video or a document or advice about what to wear. As people start spreading the word, then it becomes more lighted. And so I actually think that videos are not any special category. They get spread through social means.
So, considering there are all kinds of content, the conversation content you mentioned, the music, the videos, and the images, etc., how savvy do you expect the user to be in terms of, there's some burden on the relevance part where the user has to search. For example, I sometimes get nostalgic and I look for certain videos on YouTube, and I have to literally browse through 6 or 7 videos before I get the right quality. To me, curation with respect to video is something that's been, quality curated at least, that somebody has taken the pains to upload. How do I, as a user, how savvy do I have to do to put the right keywords, whether it's the textual, and then there's the buck stops for the machine part or the algorithm part at some point, and then you pass the burden on the user psychology and user as well. So across all these genres of content, how do you educate the user, in other words, to get to the right relevant content quickly by putting the right keywords or right searches and etc.
So I think because YouTube doesn't do a good job, I think companies like Oliver's actually help solve some of that problem, right?
Yeah, what I was going to say was, in our company's case, we don't even require any keywords or any search whatsoever. All require that you do is collect some of the things that you find interesting. And if you do that and you're discriminating, right? If you don't connect CNN and Time and NBC, which are going to be, very vanilla, but if you select a couple of specific places, prana, yoga, something, that we will surface for you right away, stuff you haven't seen before that you'll probably find interesting. Yeah, I mean, whatever has a URL, our service can identify what's there and will help service. I mean, and the more you use a product, of course, we refine the results, they improve over time, just like with Google. I mean, all of these, I think, sophisticated products incorporate at least some machine learning to improve and validate and cross-check and find out whether you're actually delivering a result. I mean, I think it's a beautiful way of analyzing is to say, how long was he there, right? I mean, if the first thing that they see is the result they're looking for, that's a success, right?
Actually, I have a comment to that. Well, what do you think the top search query is on search engines like Google and Bing and so on? What do you think?
Hey.
Besides, what do you think?
Hey.
What was it? Facebook, exactly. So let's just assume, let's just play the scenario. So you fire your you fire your computer, you launch a browser, and you type in Facebook. Why? So you're talking about education, right? You say, how can we educate users or how savvy users should be in order to perform this task, right? So that's basically an interesting thing, right? Facebook as a head query, followed by Google, followed by others, right? So we know that. That's published everywhere. So why would users do that? What's the point of them going into Bing, type in Facebook, and go to Facebook? What's there? What value is there? So there are actually papers written on this. People trying to understand what drives this. So it's an interesting thing. It's that cursor that starts blinking in a search query. So people think I can go and hit Control-L to go into URL window, type in whatever I have to type, facebook.com, or I can just go into the cursor already blinking in Bing or Google, and you can just type in Facebook, and next thing you know, it took you to Facebook, and next thing you know that you're already there. So it's the value. What else you show next to Facebook? And what we noticed that for those head queries, nobody cares. People actually, their intent to go there. People actually got smarter. We noticed that people realized they don't have to type Facebook anymore. They can type F, and that happens. They can type G, and it takes you to Google. So even the search engine becomes smarter in this case. So it's a fascinating thing. So we're saying what value does this social actually bring to this? Do we even have to show anything? If we just show a blank page, we just link to Facebook, what would that do? It probably would serve exactly the same purpose. We would not do anything. So we're trying to show things like the stock quotes. We're trying to show some news about this and pictures. Nobody cares. Then that's what they want to do. So those are very interesting things that you bring up. But in terms of quality, in terms of saying what's important, there's things like there are a bunch of judges out there that help us to solve this problem. We send constantly feeding different ranker results. Every improvement is being judged by rankers out there, by judges out there. And only then, when we see that the value is there's added value, then only that product is being shipped. So we're always trying to show
improvement, right? Overall.
Yes, absolutely.
Perfect. All right, next question real quick.
At times, I'm actually sick of curation and relevancy, and I'll give you an example. I tried to buy a domain name the other day on Google. Now, whatever I've been searching for the past 3 days, whether it's my email, I just keep getting advertisements again and again and relevant data, quote unquote, for buying new domain names. And I already bought my domain. Do you guys ever imagine sort of a rise of anti-curation or randomness out there?
But that's got nothing to do with curation. That's follow me advertising.
That's relevant. Yeah.
It's retargeting. It's got nothing to do with curation.
And very annoying. A couple questions left.
Hi, this is not actually a question, but a comment to some things about like YouTube is not doing a good job about search and relevancy, and especially dark content. I would say like a few months ago, this is all public information, YouTube did change to bring watch time. So you can see in a simple web page, a view is two-dimensional, you watch a web page. But with video, there's a third dimension that's added, which is you can watch the content. So some of the signals are around like watch time, as well as like co-watching that is being used to discover what type of content you want to watch next. And so that's work in progress. And as you know, like any algorithm, it's always like a refinement. And so just to answer your question on the video depth, it is watch time. And by the way, disclosure, I work for YouTube. So.
Ah, you should be up here.
I actually report to Shalini.
So like, so like the quality, so one of the things that I was thinking about, so I'm glad that you were saying this, is that it seemed like it would be great if you could show the amount or the number of people that actually watch the content through its entirety. Because then, so is that what you're talking about?
Yes, in terms of view-through rate as well as the watch time. So if, for instance, in metadata tag, you said Britney Spears video, but you have someone else just trying to attract attention, the normal tendency is people to skip through. They are not going to watch that whole video. And that is a signal for the algorithm that it is not watched and push it down.
Thank you.
As an example.
All right.
Can I ask the audience one question?
Sure.
I was going to ask the last question.
Oh, okay.
What do you think is the biggest curation problem for us, people, the business that we said, 1 million tweets every hour, and I need to present the brand with 20 that are relevant. So I'll give you a hint. 70% of the social media today is from what the data we see is spam. So that's the first level of biggest curation we have to do.
Could you talk into the mic? I'm not sure if everyone could hear that. It's 70%.
It's in certain categories. Sorry, I used to teach, so I think my voice goes all the way back. But 70% in certain categories, 70% of the content is spam. So that's the first biggest piece of curation we end up doing, and that is largely done automatically, right, with some human involvement. And then to narrow the file, so from 1 million to 50, that's 99.3 or 49 reduction. But the first curation piece that you work on is essentially the spam.
So the key is don't create spam in your content, otherwise you'll get curated out. Any other questions
Well, the
before we wrap
spammers are
this
getting
up?
clever and clever.
Oh, hopefully not too clever. Oh, I think we have time for just a couple more questions right here.
Hi, my name is Chris Vora. I have several items to ask here. One is that, if you look at the, like a presidential brief that, every president gets in the White House, if you look at all the tools that are there to curate and see relevance and timeliness and all of that we've heard, is there any set of tools that delivers that kind of a report, in terms of an individual? Because after all of these social media explosions and big data and analytics that you're doing, at the end of the day, we still don't get out of all of this chatter really a brief, like a presidential brief that'll do things for you in every single area of like expertise. And I know maybe Oliver can.
We're ready to jump on that answer. So why don't we start on this end, we'll work it quickly down to the end. Quick hint, real quick.
We don't create presidential briefs. We don't create presidential briefs.
Very expensive.
We create reports, but not briefs.
So I think you're making a point, where the president has this whole staff of people that are creating content. They're going through the clutter and figuring out which 5 things or 10 things that he sees every morning, right? And I think people have the same, for whatever you're interested in. Like, I used to watch, for example, CNBC or CNN, many years ago, quite a bit. But then as their quality decreased, I actually moved on to other sources of channel, right? So I think you constantly sort of figure out what works for you better, right? And so I don't think there's any tool that can actually sort of say, I can get it all done for you as well. But there's a lot of tools, that you can actually customize for your needs, right? And then over time, the algorithms actually work and improve them over time, right? So, and our appetite for consumption is so high, right, that will continue to evolve and the tools will get better over time. Blogger was an amazing tool for average user to actually put content in, right? But if you look at Tumblr, it has done a 10 times better job in terms of having people create content, using Tumblr than Blogger, right? So the tools will get better, more content gets created, and then you need more curation to cut the clutter again.
I think one quick point about that is if you look at Google's search engine for social or whatever, or Bing that we've been hearing so much about, if you look at it, at the heart of those search engines, nothing has really changed, is what I feel. out of all the social data and media explosion, what in the world is Google and and our friends at Bing doing to bring relevancy, timeliness, and all that? Like after all of this stuff, I'm still not sure if there's really an improvement on the social media dimension.
Yeah, you can take that up with Bing, because he's got a full presentation for you.
Yeah. So I have as a recommendation to our friends at Bing, need to buy companies like us. Before they get better and better.
There we go. I was waiting for the plug.
We can have a sidebar negotiation.
So I'm going to answer your question. My opinion is that the closest thing that I have seen in the last 6 months to a presidential brief on tech comes from Jason Calacanis' Hyperticker. Have any of you seen this? It's amazing. So basically, he hired a group of people, and now he has some sponsors, and it's his report from his team as the CEO that he shares on the most important news of the day. And in one email, it gives you as much of what you need to know about what's happening in the Valley today as anything I've ever seen, including TechMe, which they use as sort of their starting point. So I think that if you're looking for a presidential brief on tech, just look for Jason Calacanis has a newsletter called Jason Nation, and they have a subscription called Hyperticker.
Or Hacker News. I mean, I think that'd be a good, true, or have the full commentary. I think we have one question in the back real quick, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. So I have a question with respect to particular vertical, which is shopping. I myself have a startup in a shopping space. So my question is that with social curation and so many successes in the shopping vertical with respect to Guild Group, Fab, Italy, and so many things happening, does anyone have any thoughts in terms of the next stage into that curation aspect in terms of the movement?
Yeah, so one of our clients is Rula. And so what we do for them directly is we really go over, I think there's like 45 or 50 fashion-oriented vertical bloggers out there. And they're creating tons and tons of content. And what they want to do is become smart about it. We have two other companies like Rula that do the same thing, very similar. And so they tap into that. So they basically keep their finger on the pulse of the industry. So if something starts to trend, they'll snatch that and use that in their own strategies for content.
And I think if you look at Pinterest is the largest referrer to shopping sites.
But it's flatlining right now, if you look at it from Oh.
That's so ominous.
No, I just mean like it went up and it was really high, and now it's gone down, and it's pretty standard, but it's just not growing. So I'm just curious what the next in the fashion world specifically, or shopping, is going to be beyond Pinterest.
If I knew that, I wouldn't be here. Well, I mean, what specifically do you want to know, really?
So I wanted to know, apart from curation, which is the current stage the industry is in, is the space where users have gone past curation and now they want to look some other data, like not just Guild Group or Fab curating, but they're print curating, or any other next development in that space?
I see a lot of small things, but I don't know if any of them look like the next big thing. Right now, a lot of people are very interested in videos that have e-commerce built into the video. So the people who are on YouTube showing you how to do the makeup, or showing you a lookbook, you can just click in the video and you're already passing through to e-commerce. Those things already exist, and I don't see them exploding, but I could imagine that for the brands behind, that's a very attractive thing to do to a video. It turns it from somewhat dark to now an actionable portal to an e-commerce engine. So that's one thing I've seen recently, but I think the Rula laws, the guild groups, they're still trending up right now.
We have a company called Poshmark that allows actual end users to create their own collections of items, right? And they're actually usually from their own closets. So using your iPhone, you can actually go through, create the collection. And they also have very specific events around certain things. So it's a Louis Vuitton handbag party, right? And everybody brings in their Louis Vuitton handbags, and that's all that's discussed, and then they buy and sell. Right, so I can buy your Louis Vuitton, I can trade them, I can do certain things. So it's actually peer-to-peer. But that's what eBay started with actually, right? So I think there's a combination of design that makes it easier to make the purchase actually happen, right? So I don't have to go to the clutter of eBay, and I think there's a combination of having ease of use, combining with shopping experience and enhancing the personal experience of a person using it. So you'll see a lot of those permutations happen, and Poshmark's not the only company doing it. There's other companies in the space as well. So you'll see a continuous sort of involvement in that space as well. Yeah, I mean, so you have, image recognition is still at best, 40 to 60% of what it needs to be, right? So recognizing in a photograph that bag happens to be, a Louis Vuitton bag, and then actually relating that back to an actual e-commerce experience is still automated. Is still pretty hard to do, right? So you have a combination of machine learning and machine recognition, and then having a human creation on top, right? So I think all these things will have a lot of involvement over the next few years as well. Yeah, yeah. So.
Hi. So the example that that one of the panel members have brought up about autism, right? Like if I want to look for want to know about autism, I mean, there is no existing platform where I can actually find about autism, right? If I go to Google, I have to spend like 1 hour come up with few different phrases to get exactly the links that I want to, right? So the best way probably for me to know more about autism is to connect to the person who have already done the research on autism, right? So if I'm researching something on Google, I find some links, I curate myself, I put into specific categories, and I create a big notepad kind of thing, right? So I'm still spending so much time, right? Eventually we want to reduce that time for each user as we go along, right? So is there any platform who is trying to do that, or do you think this problem can be solved? I mean, because machine search engines are not solving the problem yet, right? So any comments?
I think I can address it. Like, for instance, that's exactly what we try to solve, is that there are experts in autism. So you curate a channel on autism and you make that available. So that's why I said there's always experts on many topics and many streams, and that's where curation has more effect, because the search engines will provide it. It isn't just, you still start with the search engine, you still cull data from everything else, but then selecting the 2 or 3 things that you should read, and the news keeps happening all the time. There are advances in autism. That is where you really need the power of curation and curated streams on a particular topic that you can subscribe to. And as part of one idea that we are trying to do is that everything that are niche topics on whether it's in health or shopping or news or politics, and you can curate streams in a very specific way and share that through your social network and through your extended social network.
So if you're let's say starting up on this idea, right, how do you go about actually finding the curators? Like,
well,
because that's probably the challenge, right? Once you collect enough number of curators, once you have quality content, these are the streams that I already have curators who are providing the content. Then I'm interested to join the flow, right? But how do you even come up with
this? That's the way. So you have to
how do you judge each curator whether he's good enough to be part of it?
You start judging it by looking at if there are 3 channels on autism and people are curating it. By a process of selection, there's one that is going to get followed more because they're choosing the articles. So there's the self-selection process. The follow count is always an important measure of how authoritative a person is. And the person with autism may be totally somebody you never knew about, but who has an autistic child or has someone who knows more about it and has done a lot of the research.
Yeah, I mean, that's really one of the problems that our company is solving, is not just enabling the experts to easily and quickly organize the stuff that is relevant to their particular interest or discipline, but then making it very easy for anybody else to find it. So if you want to do an interesting experiment, all you need to do is type in autism on Google or Bing or any other search engine, and then use our product for an example, which is pearltrees.com. Just create an account, or you just type into the search bar autism and compare the results and see if you find exactly what you're looking for in either place. And I'm willing to bet you, at least in the topic of autism, because I happen to know the content very well there, that the very first thing we present, the one thing right into dead center, number 1, will be highly relevant to your search, and also something which you would want to follow long term. Because to the point of timeliness, so there's 2 aspects to curation, right? There's having a body of knowledge that people generally agree is accurate, and then updating that body of knowledge as new information comes out. And the ideal situation is to identify that guy who cares about this topic, who's an expert on this topic to begin with, and who's also following the developments in the topic. And when you find that guy, you don't want to follow him. You want to follow his curation on autism. And a product that allows you to do just that, and you don't have to care about his dining habits or his coffee stops or his Foursquare check-ins or his passion for beagles. You don't care about that stuff. You just care about his expertise on autism. And if you can find a tool that enables you to just follow that particular interest of that expert, it's going to be very efficient. That's what we're trying to accomplish with our product.
What will be his interest to actually give his curation to everyone else?
So I call that incidental altruism. Basically, people who are curating for a selfish reason, for themselves, they have a kid with autism, but it costs them nothing for the world to benefit from their knowledge. And in fact, in certain areas, people are inclined to share because they're looking for a community of interested people, and they're hoping potentially for collaborators.
Well, and people like to brag as well. And they like to be the expert, so that helps as well.
I mean, for whatever reason. But generally speaking, in our product, you have to pay to keep your stuff private. So we're trying to encourage that public presentation of knowledge for knowledge's sake, to create basically the world's largest crowdsourced library of experts.
All right, we have time for one more question, and then we're going to do a quick wrap up right after. Sure.
How comfortable are you asking your network that question about autism? Are you comfortable just going to Facebook or and just typing in, hey, anyone out there,
I'll be more
help me?
comfortable asking an expert than
Why?
because I know my network, right? I know my network.
So there could be someone in your network that also knows someone who might help you. But
the chances are pretty less, right? I mean, it depends on the topic that I'm looking for. Like if it's a pretty generic topic, right? Like movies or something, fine. I can go and ask my network.
Right.
If there's a specific kind of a thing that I'm looking for.
It's leading with experts.
I'll always prefer, because that saves my time than waiting for answers and then it says like, okay, I don't know. It saves my time. I can get the information quickly. I can get it done.
Cool.
And that's my take.
I think that's the take of a lot of people. So if there's any more questions, okay. If not, then I'd like to have each panelist just do a quick comment on their favorite tools that can help some of these businesses to actually get into the curation, content creation monster, and then also just some final thoughts on the overall topic. You're up.
Invenograph.com.
Oh, there you go.
It's real easy. Invenograph.com. Yeah, INFINIGRAPH.com.
She just told me to mention Hootsuite. It's spelled HOOTSUIT. I think there's a whole slew of companies I can mention, but I think that's a good one. Lorix, I think there's two companies right here that you might want to sort of take a closer look at as well, besides his. I don't have any more specific things besides, you need to experiment and test and see which one works well for you. There's no silver bullet to any of these things. Space is very new. Overall, it's only a couple of years old in terms of sort of figuring out, so this clutter as well. So good luck in testing a lot of these things out.
Sure. Again, I'll do my plug. But I think we just launched a couple of weeks back, and very specific to the whole concept of news and news creation. And there's so much happening right now, and we have an iPad app called News Social, NEWZ Social, that you can download from the iTunes App Store, or you can go to our site newssocial, newszsocial.com, and find out more. And it really is the first case where you and your friends curate magazines that are of interest to you and your social network. And it comes in with the ability to create any kind of micro channel. So actually, we do have a channel on autism. We actually do have channels in India corruption. We do have channels on the Giants in the playoff. We do have channels on Porsche cars. So wide variety of things. You can create them very fast, share them with your social network, and that's really the essence of social curation.
I don't have much. I have no plug. Please all go visit women's blogs about fashion. Hit refresh. No. Besides Hootsuite, there's one. I was a mentor for a European startup incubator, and it's a horrible name. There's a company called Social Bro. Have you guys ever used that? It's just the worst name, and I told them that. But it's interesting. It's if you want a way to sort of get a lot of information about who your followers are and sort of what the graph looks like from your Twitter stream, you can do a lot of neat tools like automatically calculate the best time of days to tweet, which a lot of tools do. I think Hootsuite even has that now. But then it allows you to dump it directly into Hootsuite in one click and with some coordination. So that's another one out there. Personally, I really like Percolate. I don't know if you guys use that. That's basically you get one email a day, and it's staggering. I click on every link in that. I don't know how to do it. It's magic.
Right. For me, the favorite one is obviously the company that I work for. But it only works if you're a big brand and you have the access to the tools, because a lot of computing happens in the back end and all that stuff, and someone needs to pay for it. So unfortunately for me, my social curation tools are probably about half a dozen at least. It depends on the mood of the day. So it depends. Actually, the social curation, that aspect of it that we didn't talk about, is that how lazy are you feeling that day? Right? If I'm feeling really lazy, I'll go to one curation tool where I'm just browsing through stuff that curated for me. And then if I'm not so lazy that day and want to do some curation myself because I'm in a mood to get more precise information, that's a different set of tools. I don't think any one of us just uses one tool. It's always a variety of tools, just like everything else.
Well, I'm a big fan of Bing, but I'm also a very big fan of Quora. And the reason I talk about Quora a lot, and I've talked about Quora a lot today, is I find that company has tons of potential, because the tool that they're building is outstanding. It allows you to build your reputation, build your expertise, show to and actually show to other people what could contribute to this overall knowledge base of content that kind of spreads around a variety of topics, not specific to electronics, not e-commerce or anything. You can ask any question, you can answer any question, and I bet all of you here can contribute to that. And knowing that some of the questions that you answer or you ask can are the long-term questions. They don't change that much. They will picked up by index. In search engines, be added to indexes, and it will serve community for a long, long time. And specifically, you'll be amazed, types of people that answer questions, the questions that you asked. Specifically, if you ask, why George Lucas built a studio in Marin, and all of a sudden, the next thing you know, George Lucas himself would answer your question, and that's actually very, very interesting.
The ultimate expert curation.
Yes, absolutely.
Very cool.
I also really like Quora, although I think Quora has a valley problem, frankly, is that if you ask the right question, you're going to get that quality of an answer. If you ask the question, why is Azure Paint no longer available, and even if you select from the suggested experts who've already answered questions about Paint, it's unlikely that you're going to get a very good answer. But, again, talking more generally, I think you need to choose the right tool for your application. You have to understand the range of tools that are available to you, what you're going to do. If you're a journalist and you want to cover breaking news, right now Storify is just phenomenal for that. It's a beautifully designed tool. If you want to produce your own personal newspaper that you're sending out kind of automatically every day, well, Paperly does a nice job, so does Scoop It. If you're planning a wedding and you want to curate dresses, I don't think anybody would argue that Pinterest is the home run for that. And if you're more generally interested in specific topics, maybe more than one, then perhaps our tool Pearltrees is useful. If you're a blogger, using Tumblr or WordPress is again highly valuable. And then if you're running a large organization, then using professional tools. Nobody's talking about Curata tonight. There's many different levels of tools to serve every different entry in the market, from a kid who's getting ready to produce a report for school to a brand manager that needs to track how many people have talked about lipstick. So, by the way, one thing I just wanted to let you know is I'm actually right now testing the next version of our web product. So I'm testing a dev version. And if a few people want to be victims to do a product test before you take off tonight, I would love to have some feedback.
Very
So
cool.
just throwing that out there.
Well, thank you, panelists. I think that covers everything. We appreciate your time.